I'm really thrilled. Tonight I'm going to the big jam session at J.J. Flanagan's.
Is that a fancy restaurant?
Don't you know anything? J.J. Flanagan's is the hippest blues and jazz club around. They have open jam sessions every Tuesday and Sunday night.
That sounds fancy. How much does it cost to go there?
Not a penny, if you're a hip musician. If you look and act like a hip musician, the doorman will lift the rope and let you go in for free.
Righto. But how do I look like a hip musician?
Well, do you play an instrument?
No. But I sing ancient English sea shanties.
That is not acceptable. But I can lend you my brother Donnie's old Sears and Roebuck guitar case to carry. Just make sure to say you are feeling too sick to play, if they ask you. That way you can stand by the stage in the hangabout groupie section.
Right. And how does a hip musician dress?
Well, it's not as easy as you might think. There are certain rules. For instance, it is always good to wear all black. And if you have sunglasses you should wear those, even if you can't see with them on. And it is vital that you wear a jaunty cap. Make sure any cap you wear is at a jaunty angle. Do not wear such non-jaunty hats as a straw boater, an army helmet or a Shriner's fez.
Can I wear my golf cap?
That would not be acceptable. You would probably be ridiculed, or even arrested for an insult to hipness. Also, do not wear those awful plaid Bermuda shorts I've seen you in. Do you have any skin-tight blue jeans?
The only blue jeans I have are waist 62, relaxed fit Levi's.
That would also not be a very good look. Do you have any really huge and long shirts, you know, like the kind Steven Seagal wears in his more recent movies?
I have an old pup tent in the attic with clowns on it. We used it when we were kids. If I drape it over my shoulders it looks like a giant smock.
Good. If you can dye it black, that would work. You would look like a hip musician wearing a serape.
Right. Not that I know what a serape is.
Good heavens, didn't you ever see Clint Eastwood in Pale Rider? It's a bit of Mexican blanket and very stylish.
Very well then. A giant dyed black Mexican blanket it is. Now how do I go about acting like a hip musician?
Well, first you must learn the lingo. There are certain words and phrases that hip musicians use all the time. For instance, one such phrase is tasty licks. You should always be talking about tasty licks.
Is that some kind of special food?
No, you idiot. Tasty licks are what hip musicians are always playing. For instance, when they take a solo, they string all these tasty licks together.
What is a solo?
A solo is when you stand on the stage and play as many notes as possible for as long as possible. It is also advisable, while playing, to grimace or smile in a dreamlike fashion.
How many solos are in a song?
Good question. For out-of-date people like the Beatles there are hardly any solos at all. But for real hip musicians, especially those trained at Berklee College of Music, the average number of solos in a song is 48.
Blimey. And how else can one act like a hip musician?
One thing, it is important, I should say vital, to hug everyone. And make sure people can see you hugging everybody. When you hug another musician, you should say things like, "Hey, man. What's happening?" or "Hey dude. How's it hanging?"
How about, "Hey, my hip musician brother. Want to start playing some tasty licks?"
Excellent. You are learning fast. It is also important to cultivate the hip musician attitude. To do this, just act very uninterested in anything or anyone. Remember, you're a hip musician. You're better than anyone else. For instance, when someone is talking, just interrupt them by saying something like, "Excuse me, I have to go adjust my amplifier." Or, better yet, just walk away while someone is talking. It is also very effective to look over the head of the person talking, as if you recognize an old friend across the room. Distracted and distant. The 2 Ds. When applied diligently, it never fails to effectively impress and intimidate. The same technique should be used in email manners. Never answer an email from another musician. They might think you care. Ignore and impress. The 2 Is.
If it weren't for the steady breeze blowing through this unnaturally sunny sky, I think I would faint from boredom after listening to that way too long answer. Do you have any other tips for the aspiring hip musician?
I'm glad you asked. Here's a little trick I use. The next time you go to see a famous musician, just elbow your way up to them, and put your arm around them. Get a friend to snap your picture. Then go home, and post that picture all over the internet. You're automatically hip and famous by association.
Righto. What a jolly idea. I'll try it. By the by, let me just ask you, are you a Smurf?
Good heavens no, I'm an animated teddy.
Ah. You could have fooled me. You do have a distinctly Smurf-like appearance, especially around the eyes. Well, I'm off to dye my pup tent black. Will I be seeing you tonight at the club?
That's a big yes, mate. I have some new tasty licks to try out. Now, give us a hug just for practice.